All right, let's dive right into this explainer because we are going to do something absolutely fascinating today. Every day, you probably scroll through countless pieces of content, but have you ever stopped to wonder how they're actually born? Well, we're going to perform a meta-analytical deconstruction of what is essentially a microscopic blueprint for modern digital media. You see, every single thing you consume starts as a directive, a prompt, or a little spark of an idea. But how often do we stop to actually look at the structural integrity of the request itself? Today, we're breaking down a single, highly specific prompt to see exactly how much strategy can be packed into just a handful of words. Our entire source material for today's explainer is just that, a single 38-word creative brief. Now, 38 words, that might sound like nothing. It's literally the length of a quick email or a passing thought, but as we look at this text, you're going to see how it perfectly captures the complex machinery of internet content generation. It's actually a dense, high-pressure set of instructions that demands a whole lot from whoever is tasked with bringing it to life. So, the brief reads, create an engaging 8 to 10-minute video about 10 crazy facts about America you never knew. Use reliable sources, explain each fact clearly, and make the narration interesting for a U.S. audience. We're going to treat this exact word-for-word request not just as a casual to-do list, but as a real window into the hidden complexities of executing such a demanding creative directive. Every single word here was chosen for a reason, and they all interact with each other to create a very strict set of rules. Let's move right into our first section, the anatomy of a brief, decoding the directives. Here, we break that 38-word source text down into its core anatomical parts. Basically, there are 4 specific mandated actions the creator has to juggle to fulfill this assignment. First, they have to create an engaging video. Second, they absolutely must use reliable sources. Third, they need to explain each fact clearly. And fourth, they have to make the narration interesting. It's like a table with 4 legs. If the creator drops even one of these structural pillars, the entire project fails to meet the criteria of the brief.
That brings us to Section 2, timing and format constraints, the boundaries of engagement.
Notice how the brief explicitly dictates an 8 to 10-minute window. This heavily emphasizes the strict quantitative boundaries of the request. The creator isn't just told to make something, they're given a very rigid box to fit it all inside. Think about it. If they have enough crazy facts to fill 15 minutes, they have to cut them. If they only have 5 minutes of material, they've got to dig deeper. It essentially forces a specific pace and rhythm onto the final product. So the really crucial point here is that this specific block of time must remain engaging from start to finish, which, let's be honest, is no small feat. The prompt takes that rigid mathematical constraint, exactly 8 to 10 minutes, and pairs it with a highly subjective, qualitative demand. You can't just fill the time with dead air or monotonous reading. Nope, every single second within that boundary is mandated by the brief to actively captivate the viewer. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, analyzing the chosen topic, the anatomy of a click. Take a look at this phrasing. This proposed title is a masterfully engineered example of digital packaging. It's designed from the ground up to instantly hook your curiosity. It promises exactly what you're going to get, and it playfully challenges you by implying there are things out there that you're completely unaware of. When we actually dissect that title, we can see just how much pressure it puts on the research process. It demands a strict quantitative quota, exactly 10 facts, no more, no less. It has a specific geographic focus, America. It sets an extreme qualitative standard for the information, meaning these facts can't just be mildly interesting, they literally have to be crazy. And finally, it makes a bold, almost aggressive assumption about the viewer's prior knowledge, guaranteeing that these are facts you never knew. Let's look at Section 4. Mandating reliable source material, the tension of truth. This creates a really fascinating narrative tension within the brief regarding how those 10 facts are sourced and presented. On one hand, we have this flashy demand, find crazy things nobody knows. But balancing that out is a grounded requirement. The creator is explicitly instructed to use reliable sources. This perfectly captures the ultimate balancing act every single content creator faces today, trying to deliver that highly sensationalized, scroll-stopping shock value while simultaneously being commanded to strictly adhere to journalistic integrity. And the brief actually goes a step further on this point. It isn't enough to simply find these bizarre, well-sourced facts and just list them off. The prompt clearly insists that the creator must explain each fact clearly. This means the final piece can't just rely on the shock value of a headline. It has to actually educate the viewer. It demands clarity, structure, and a logical breakdown of whatever crazy information has been dug up. For our final structural component, we move to Section 5, targeting the U.S. audience, tailoring the narrative. The source text explicitly dictates the target demographic right at the very end. It states the creator must make the narration interesting for US audience. Now that is a massive constraint. The narration cannot be generic, and it definitely cannot take a global perspective. The tone, the cultural references, the pacing, and the context all must be specifically and intentionally calibrated to resonate with a United States demographic. This actually builds into an incredible psychological loop. Because the subject matter is America and the target demographic is a US audience, it creates this closed-loop content strategy. The creator is literally tasked with telling an audience crazy things they don't know about their very own country. It relies heavily on the audience's inherent interest in their own home, while simultaneously subverting their expectations about how well they actually know it. So as we step back and review our analysis, we really start to see the true weight of our source material. This tiny 38-word prompt is actually a demanding masterclass in modern digital strategy. It forces a delicate blend of highly clickable packaging with strict, reliable sourcing. It enforces rigid time constraints while demanding nonstop engagement. And it requires clear delivery that is hyper-targeted to a very specific domestic demographic. It's a remarkably complex puzzle, completely disguised as a simple sentence.
Since this source material is really an unfulfilled request in our context today, a blueprint just waiting for a house to be built on it, I'm going to leave you with this final ultimate creative challenge to ponder. If you were handed this 38-word brief today, how would you balance the crazy with the reliable? What mind-blowing, perfectly sourced facts would you choose to keep a US audience engaged for exactly 8 to 10 minutes? It's a whole lot harder than it looks, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking for the hidden structures in the content you consume every single day.